Hello there, this is Seven's warm temperate garden, and this is a nice cabin that's been built. As you can see, we've got a lot of exotic palm trees here, and over here we've even got a Colombian feather palm, which is from South America in Colombia. It produces fruits 4.5 to 5.5 centimeters across, which are edible, in fact, so it's a Colombian feather palm, and its fronds can be up to 5 meters long on the adult foliage, but this is the juvenile one, only about 2.5 meters high at the moment, but very incredible palm tree. But regardless of that, this is my cabin. This is the veranda along here, as you can see. It's the veranda, and this is where you might eat your dinner and lunch, along the veranda. The coat's still hanging up there, left it outside. Then we can come all the way around the side here. Up here like this. That's the living quarters window. That's the bathroom window. Around to the back here. Of course, we've got a lot of Asian palm trees at the back here too. And then this side is triangular in roof formation. There's one of the side bedrooms, windows. And we've got another Asian palm tree. This one must be about 5 meters high. It's really enormous, about 5 meters. Look at it past its foliage. This is one of the other bedrooms at the back here. Tree ferns as well. Here's a prickly plant called a pseudopanix. A very rare sort of plant to have in the garden. But it isn't half high, it must be 5 meters or more high. It's massive right to the top. Next to it is a thatch palm from Lord Howe Island. Thatch palm goes in subtropical areas. Absolutely amazing. Look, big palm trees. Super Indivisier as well, with leaves 6 inches wide. Very big specimen. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the roof of the cabin. It's got a nice tiled roof on there. I'm trying to get a picture of that. I'll try and get around this side. I'll try over here. Just see the roof. So we come through here back round to the veranda again. This is in the middle of winter. This is winter at the moment, and there's the bench with the long veranda along it. It's sort of back into the winter time. It is winter, and yet you don't seem to have any frosts or cold whatsoever, because we wouldn't have Colombian feather palms growing that grow in the tropics. So it goes to show even banana plants are still looking quite okay. I mean, there's a flipping banana plant over here, still looking all right even through the winter. And here's a bird of paradise plant, origin is South Africa and grown in the tropics for the bird-like flowers on the top, purple and white flowers. So anyway, it is just a big massive jungle. So there's another shot of the cabin from here. Here we've got a plant here which is called Facrea permentrii, and it grows a massive stalk up to 12 feet long with flowers on the top, and it's very bulbous, and it comes from southern Mexico. There's quite a few other plants that we've got here. We've got a Ryukyu cycad in the Ryukyu Islands, and we've got Livingstonia chinensis, which is the fountain palm. There's glossy green leaves, and the leaves can get up to 1 to 3 meters in length, with weeping segment tips. Plants are good for tropical and temperate regions, and tolerating dark shady positions. The fruit is normally bluish and hanging clusters, and it's native to Taiwan and the Ryukyu Islands. Here's an interesting one over here that I've got here. This one's a Agave atentulata, and it's a succulent that has rosettes of blue-green spineless sword-shaped leaves up to 1 meter long and 25 centimeters wide. The trunk normally goes to about 1.5 meters high. Flower spike to 3 meters, with greenish yellow flowers on, and the original is coastal central Mexico in Jasico. So it's a very, very tender species, but it's nice to be grown in this country in that way. That's this one over here is a Colombian feather palm. It's from South America. There's quite a few exotic plants here, and if we go over this way, this is a Eucalyptus bruckeriana. It comes from southeastern Tasmania. It's got apple green leaves on it and a lovely brownish blue and grey peeling bark on it. And behind there we've got a species that is Callostenum pallidus. It's from Victoria in Tasmania. Comes out with bottle brush yellow, pale yellow flowers on, which are cylindrical in shape. And on my right hand side is Callostenum subulatus, which is a red flowering bottle brush plant. It's got it arches over at about 8 feet high, with 8 or 9 feet spread. But its leaves are much more finer. As you can see, they're very, very much more narrower than pallidus, which is a much wider type of leaf. So let's go over here, see what else we can see. We've got a Metasequoia glyptostroboides, a dawn redwood, which is just coming out into leaf, which is from the dinosaurs times, of the Jurassic times, where it used to exist, and it dates back about 100 million years and survived only in central China. It was discovered by T. Can, and only back in 1941, but it's nice to have the Metasequoia. It's a type of redwood tree, but it's from central China. Over here, talking about central China, I just want to go through here now, and this is something that's quite fascinating. I can get round the corner here and move on a touch. You're just starting to get into the spring, so leaves are just starting to come out, like this one here. This one is a Liodendron chinensis, which is from Vietnam, but it's just starting to come out. So over here, this is my real favourite sort of plant over this way. This is a Chinese red bark birch, Betula albocinensis. It comes off in flaky kind of layers, and it's polished, the bark, which related to the birch family, which is a Betula. It's just starting to come out into leaf there a little bit. If I go up the trunk, it's lovely mahogany reddish peeling bark. If you go right up, the leaves are starting to come out at the top, but it's just starting to come out now. It is very just starting to get the first few days of spring, so things are only just starting to come out. But it is that's another shot of the bark there. It's absolutely fantastic. One of my favourites, obviously, it's from western and central China, Chinese red-bark birch. We're deep in the garden area in the jungle, and we're in the swampy area. This here is Dicksonia antarctica, the Australian tree fern. Absolutely magnificent specimen. Got another one over there. The trunks are considerably thick, but they do take a long time to mature and grow, and some of them can be hundreds of years old. There's another Dicksonia antarctica, very big specimen indeed, right way up there. Let's have someone standing next to them, see how big they are. And then this is our tallest one. This one's got to be somewhere in the region of about 14 feet high. So its trunk's right up there, with its enormous fronds at the top, arching right over the top of my head. The other specimen that we have is Cythea australis. It also lives in Queensland as well, in Australia, and it's called the rough tree fern. It's got a very rough bark. The fronds are obviously bipinnately divided on both specimens, but there's a distinctive difference between them. But this one's got like a very peggy, thick trunk as you come down, with lots of roots coming out from the trunk all the way down. This Cythea australis has got to be maybe about 12 feet or so high. It's massive fronds. Now, if we look at the bipinnate fronds, this one is Cythea australis, just to take a look at the bipinnate arrangement. Over here we can go over to Dicksonia antarctica. They're much finer leaves. Still bipinnately divided, but much finer than the Cythea australis. Here we go, passing through the main part of the jungle. There's one I'd like to come to over here, and it's a fishtail palm from Indonesia, and it's growing outside here in this country. It's just had the winter outside, and it's spectacular. Its leading shoot is shooting right up to about 5 or 6 meters, and then coming all the way down. But it's called a fishtail palm. It's because its leaves are shaped like fishtails, as you can see. It's called Cayota maxima. It grows to 20 to 30 metres high, fronds bipinnately, flatly held, up to 3 metres long and 2 metres wide, and fishtail leaves with pendulous drooping leaflets. The origin is Indonesia, Malaysia, Java, Sumatra, Thailand and northern India, and it lives in tropical to subtropical regions. Very interesting indeed. I'm now going to go around the corner here, through this bamboo and things like that, and towards a coconut palm. This one is a coconut palm, and it's the Bolivian coconut palm, living in deep, warm, humid valleys in central Bolivia in South America, around 18.5 latitudinal latitude, that is, living in subtropical and warm temperate regions. Plants produce up to 15 kilograms of coconuts in clusters. This specimen here is probably about 3 or 4 metres high, growing in our gardens here. Very, very nice to have coconut palm. It is actually a feather palm. Fronds are feather shaped and the leaflets are very long and drooping. Here we go along here, and we've got Eucalyptus maculata, the spotted gum. This specimen is only about 2 metres high. It's got quite a lot of good foliage on it. Very, very wide leaves for a eucalyptus. Very, very long indeed. But on the adult trees they have a conspicuous bark which is spotted with grey and yellow patches on the bark which really do stand out. This is one of the favourite eucalyptuses, but it grows normally in sandy soils in southern Queensland, and it is quite tender, but we managed to get it to grow outside here, which is really nice. It's coming out with reddish kind of leaves on the early kind of foliage as it comes out. But I'm hoping this gets to maturity. It would be very, very nice if it did. And then we'll have a look then. What might be quite a number of years for that to take place. But there you go. Over here is Livingstone and Atida. It lives in Queensland, another Livingstoner, but obviously very, very tender, and it comes from tropical regions, and subtropical regions, so you know it is very tender for this country. But this one has survived, which is very, very nice. It's got a nice nice trunk on it. Nice trunk. And then we've got a Eucalyptus ovata. There were some high winds and it came down, come crashing down, and it's now growing up from the side, and it's really nice. It's all the foliage is quite dense on it now. I think it's probably done it a favour. Another Eucalyptus ovata standing nearby, which has got to be 50-60 feet high, which is just here, is still standing upright and much so fully intact. So that was good. This is Acacia pravissima. It comes out with yellow flowers in early summer when we get there, of course. It arches over and comes over at the summit and drops down with lots of triangular little leaves on it. This is from southeastern Australia, is where it's native to, or origins. And then we've got this one that's just popping out now. It's a Quercus canariensis. Comes from North Africa and is a European, and it grows to vast proportions, but these leaves are only just popping out now, but they normally grow to a lot bigger than normal oak tree leaves do. Quite a good size, normally quite glaucous. This is an Aleppo pine, Pinus hulabensis. It's nice to have an Aleppo pine here. Over the other side is a Mexican cypress, Cupressus lusitanica, comes from Honduras and Guatemala, and it's got very, very dense hanging foliage on it, and it's got a pale brown bark that peels off in strips, but very, very interesting indeed. And then nearby, not too far away, we've got a Pinus canariensis, the Canary Island pine, which is academic to the Canary Islands. Quite lovely hanging foliage, very glaucous, and when they're young they can be almost pale blue, you know. It's very nice. It's got a rough bark on it. On the other side is Phoenix canariensis, that's a Canary Island date palm, but on this side here. But there's another specimen that I wanted you to see, and I've got actually We can walk there now round the corner here. It would be very interesting. If I can just get round the other side here, past all of these palm trees and things. It's round the corner here. This is, in fact, over here in this corner we have got a Eucalyptus regnans. It's called a giant gum eucalyptus tree, and it grows to be the tallest broadleaf tree in the world. Its origins is the Styx Valley of Tasmania and eastern Victoria in Australia, and the trunks can get in those areas 20 feet in diameter and reach over 300 feet high. But this specimen I've grown in here now for over 10 years, and it has grown at least to about 60 feet, and its trunk is a good couple of foot or more in diameter. But it's nice to have Eucalyptus regnans, the tallest broadleaf tree in the world. The foliage is very, very dark glossy green on both surfaces. Some eucalyptuses are paler underneath and glossy on the top, but they're glossy on both surfaces of the leaves. So very, very, very nice. We've had a few winds over here at the moment, just trying to get sorted out. Oh blimey. And then there it is. Oops and daisy. Right up there, it must be about getting on 60 feet now, right to the top. It only took about 10 years to get there. It's going to be really scary in a few more years' time how big that's going to get. Here we've got another specimen of another type of redwood tree called Sequoia sempervirens, and this grows to be the tallest tree in the world. It's taller than Eucalyptus regnans, and it's certainly much taller than the giant sequoia. Its trunk's much narrower, normally about up to 20 feet in diameter, as opposed to the sequoia being about 30 feet in diameter. But it does grow much taller as it grows in these valleys in southern Oregon and northwestern California. And tallest Guinness Book of Records of the tallest tree in the world, and specimens are being recorded at 370 feet high, which is the tallest tree that can ever be. It's got a very sempervirens type of like foliage on it, as you can see, almost a bit like a yew tree really in some ways. And up onto this specimen again about 12 years ago. It's reached probably about 40 feet high, but its trunk is probably about 16 inches in diameter at the bottom, so it's not as thick as over 3 feet in diameter for the sequoia one. The sequoia one seems to have grown a bit better than this one. The Eucalyptus viminalis, the ribbon gum. We have a nice specimen about 40 feet high and maybe about 40 foot spread that we kept cutting down to make it more bushy. It's got a lovely creamy white bark on it, and when it peels off and what have you, quite a nice cream bark. It's got very nice lancelet shaped leaves on, quite a nice specimen. There it is, a nice round head it's got on it, this one, really very, very nice. Over at this side, I wanted to show you a few of the other ones that we have. This one is Eucalyptus nitens, the ribbon gum. It's got leaves up to 35 centimetres long and 8 centimetres wide on the adult foliage. On the juvenile foliage they tend to be more rounded and more glaucous. That was that one. And over here we've got eucalyptus. If you go through this spot here, this is a Eucalyptus dalrympliana. Comes from the south eastern Australia. This specimen's got to be about 50 foot high. Still a very, very nice specimen indeed. Trunk. It's taken only about 10 or 12 years to grow a trunk to about 16, 17 inches in diameter and long. And it's right away up there, it's going right away up to about 60 feet to the very, 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 very top. Right the way up to the top there. Yeah. They soon grow. The eucalyptus gives certainly a lot of good cover, and other plants sometimes can grow underneath them as they let a lot more light through. That's the advantage of growing them. Over in the corner we've got some really massive Eucalyptus nitinus specimens. These are again about 60 feet high and only about 12 years. They've just gone up really high, and it's good to get cover so quickly. They're very well anchored in the ground where these high winds are, and they've never even moved. They're just stuck solid. I've got a few smaller specimens coming on which I'm going to try and take a chance with. These are called Sabal mexicana, and they dominate the lower grounded areas in Mexico, in tropical Mexico, and live along the Rio Grande River just in southern Texas as well. And the Texans like to call them the Texas palmetto, but the Rio Grande palmetto is probably what they are, because that's really where they're from. And they grow right over into Mexico in the tropics and things, but it's nice to try them. Its relative, called the Sabal palmetto, which is further behind here. This is the Sabal palmetto. This one comes from the southeastern United States. It lives on the Bahamas, and it's found in Cuba as well. But it is nice to try and give them a try and see if you can grow them and see what happens in future years with these trees, you know. Behind here we've got the hardiest Sabal, and this one is behind here. This one is a Sabal minor, a swamp palmetto, and it lives in southeastern USA, Florida and southern Louisiana, and its Costa palmate shaped leaves is usually what the Sabals are, Costa palmate shaped leaves. But this one here is which lack threads. It lacks threads, the Sabal minor, while the Sabal palmetto normally has threads, and the Sabal mexicana usually has threads later as well. So the Sabal minor being a little bit different in some respects, and a different size kind of fruits as well. In size the fruits are different on all three. Of course here I've got a few other plants that are going to be a bit of a challenge to me. This young plant here, this one here was feather duster palm, Rapalus stylus sapida, comes from the Chapman Isles and from New Zealand as well. It is the most southerly grown palm in the world. But it forms a crown shaft on it as well when it gets older, but this is only a very young specimen, and I'm just going to hope to see what I can do with that. But to report back later to see how well I do. So there you go. One's got to keep on trying, and one's got to keep on giving new plants a go. Another favourite of mine is Sequoiadendron giganteum, the giant sequoia or giant redwood tree, and this grows to be the largest living thing on earth. It may not grow as tall as Eucalyptus regnans in height, but it will certainly be bigger in cubic metres on the trunk, which makes it the largest living thing. This specimen I've had in here now again for about 11 or 12 years, and specimens in the Sierra Nevada, the trunks can get to about 30 feet in diameter on the trunk and reach up to 300 feet high. But it's got a nice spongy red bark on it, and soft, and this bark can be up to 2 feet thick on the really giant sequoias, that are 2,000 or 3,000 years old. So imagine a bark 2 feet thick, and spongy. Very resistant to forest fires, and often drop their seed down, and the seed opens up and gives it a good bedding for germination and regrowth of the giant sequoia. But it's exceptionally diameter on the bottom, is like almost a metre in diameter on the bottom, and this is only after about 12 years, so this is really very interesting. It's had very good growing conditions, and I've fed it all the fertiliser it needs, and it has certainly done very, very well. But it's now approaching about 30 feet high, but the trunk is about a metre in diameter